Welcome to Jackson Elementary. The first order of business is the fact that we have Blair ROTC, representatives from the Blair High School ROTC, and they will present the colors. And afterwards, Jackson Student Council members will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me introduce Treasurer Parker, our Student Council President, Jose Guzman, our Student Council Vice President, Peyton Gomez, our Student Council Treasurer, Desiree Ramos, our Student Council Secretary, and Catherine Velasquez, our 5th grade class representative.
Remove all hats and hoods. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may now be seated.
So again, welcome to Jackson Elementary. I am very honored to have you all here on my campus for the State of the Schools address. I would like to thank some dignitaries that we have in our audience for joining us. So first of all, a field representative for Assembly Member Chris Holden. His name is Gerald Phillips. We also have, if we can hold the applause till the very end, that way I can read off all of the names, please. I have Jackie Robinson from the City Council. Also from the City of Pasadena, Office of the Mayor, I have Field Representative Margot Morales Cruz, Christian Cruz, and Jana West, City Council Representative. From the board, Pasadena Unified Board of Education, thank you so much for joining us. Tyron Hampton, Kim Kenny, Tom Selinsky, Elizabeth Pomeroy, Michaela Ron. Thank you so much for being here. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed our hospitality, our staff, our students that took some of you on tours. We're very proud of our school and of the programs that we have in place here. I'm going to put in a tiny plug, not just for Jackson Elementary, but for Cleveland and Washington Elementary Schools as well. We have Reading Partners, and it is a tutoring program that really depends upon tutors, volunteers, in order to help students who are struggling in reading. So if any of you are interested, please call either the Cleveland office, our office, Washington Elementary's office, or go on the website under Reading Partners, and you can find all the information there. Thank you so much. And right now it is my honor to introduce yes, we are. To introduce a chorus that we have here at Jackson Elementary, made up of kindergarten, first grade, second grade students, from Miss Holly's class, Miss Kinsey's class, Miss Reese's class, Miss Villegas' class. So please welcome our kindergarten, our primary chorus. We can give them all a round of applause.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. The doors on the bus go open and shut, open and shut, open and shut. The doors on the bus go open and shut, all through the town. The people on the bus go up and down, up and down, up and down. The people on the bus go up and down, all through the town. The babies on the bus go wham, 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 wham. The babies on the bus go wham, 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 all through the town. The mommies on the bus go shh, 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 shh. The mommies on the bus go shh, 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 all through the town. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town.
Definitely, our students are the light of our lives, and we are very, very proud of them. I would like to introduce right now someone who really needs no introduction. He is the superintendent of the Pasadena Unified School District, all of the schools here. He kind of arrived on the scene like a breath of fresh air, and I think we all greatly appreciate his love for kids and his desire to do what is best for them. So please join me in a round of applause welcoming Superintendent John Gundry.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all of you coming out tonight. I would like to add a couple of acknowledgments. We have our police chief, Pasadena Police Chief Phil Sanchez, here with us this evening. Thank you for being here. And for the other officers who are with us tonight, we really appreciate your support. They're very strong supporters of public schools, and we really are fortunate to have them here in Pasadena. I'd also like to thank the Pasadena Educational Foundation for being here tonight. They're represented by Director Patrick Conyers and George Brumder. Very strong partners of the PUSD, the oldest educational foundation in California, and we're glad to have them right here in PUSD, so thank you very much for being here. I don't know if there's anyone here from the Altadena Town Council. Is there anyone here from the Town Council? But we appreciate, we're on their home turf tonight, so we're thankful for the support of the Altadena Town Council. And I want to say thanks to the kids from Blair. They did the posting of the colors tonight, and they provided the food outside tonight, our Blair Culinary Arts Academy. So thank you very much, staff and students at Blair. And I know their principal, Trudell Skinner, is here with us tonight too. So I don't see her, but I know she's here. There she is in the back. That's just one example of our college and career pathways, that it's an important part of what we do here in the PUSD. You know, when you hear different things about what's going on in the school district, you may kind of wonder how it all fits together, because we do so many different things across the school district. We have our college and career pathways, we have our growing two-way immersion dual language programs, we have international baccalaureate, we opened a new STEAM academy, that's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics at Washington Middle School, which also has implications for some of the feeder schools that feed into it, including this school right here, Jackson. It also has a STEAM program developing. And we're expanding opportunities all over the district, and different kinds of things from one school to another. It may seem a little bit disorganized, but actually we do have a plan for what we're doing in the district. You know, as many of you know who are familiar with our school district, we are moving in the direction of being more of an open enrollment district, where we offer a number of different things around the district and allow parents to choose what they find most appropriate for their children. Now, we would like people to choose the programs in their neighborhoods, but if you don't have a program in your neighborhood that you think is the best for your child, we want to open up programs in other schools to meet the demand that our parents have for different kinds of quality programs or specialized programs that may be of interest to you. So it all does fit together under the grand umbrella of what we call 21st century learning. And when we talk about 21st century learning, I realize we're well into the 21st century, but when we talk about 21st century learning, what we mean is preparing our kids to be successful in the 21st century and in a new 21st century economy that is constantly in a state of change and evolving into something different. For kids, these kids who are here this morning, some of them were kindergartners. They were kindergarten, I think kinder, first, and a couple second graders. Some of them will probably have jobs when they get out of college that don't even exist today. You know, so that's a big part of the challenge we have as educators, is what do we do to prepare kids for what may be an unknown future? And that's a tough question to answer. You know, there are jobs that exist now that didn't exist when I was in high school. And we didn't have the internet. I didn't have the internet when I was teaching. You know, so things have, because of technology, things have changed so rapidly that we just don't know where we're going as a society. We don't know what kind of jobs there will be in the future. So what we've done is we've identified, not just Pasadena Unified, this is a nationwide movement. we've identified a set of skills that we believe are going to serve our students regardless of how things change in the future. And we're starting out with 4 of them that we call the 4 C's. And those are critical thinking. So we're developing strong critical thinking skills so kids can learn things new when they have to, because there are going to be new things coming that we don't know about. So they have to have the ability to learn new things their whole lives. They have to be able to collaborate. Increasingly in the workplace, we are required to work together. And even if we're not required to work together, I think those of you, we're mostly adults here, I think you probably know at this time in your life that what really makes us happiest and most successful in life is the relationships that we have with other people. Our family relationships, our friendships, our work relationships, our relationships with our supervisors, whoever. It's the people in our lives that make us feel satisfied with who we are and what we've done with our lives. So this is part of what we're talking about when we're teaching kids to collaborate. It's not just so they'll be successful in a work environment where they may be required to collaborate with others, but it's also a means of being successful in their personal lives where they learn how to have successful relationships with others and negotiate conflict and disagreement and differences of opinions and ideas. So that's part of teaching that collaboration. Good communication skills is the 3rd C, the communication. Schools have always done a pretty good job of teaching written communication, probably better in former days than in recent times because other things have kind of gotten in the way of writing. Texting is not helping our kids be good writers, I don't think. So we have to overcome that and make sure that our kids are learning good writing skills, and at the same time, a new interest in oral communication skills. So one of the things that I'm asking to see more and more in our classrooms is kids talking about what they're learning, giving formal presentations, working together in groups to explain what they've done, the different projects that they're working on, because good oral communication skills are really essential for our children's success in the future. And finally, the 4th C is creativity. So you talk about creativity and innovation. Now, teaching creativity is kind of an iffy thing. What does that mean? So we're all learning as we go what it means to teach our kids to be creative. And part of that is giving them the freedom to do some things that they think up themselves. And more, we're asking our teachers and our principals, our school-based staff, to encourage creativity in the classroom and take a step out and not be so worried about this CST exam that's coming at the end of the year and giving kids drill and kill, reading math. We want to move away from that paradigm and talk about what it's going to take to make our kids good critical thinkers, good communicators, good collaborators, and creative, innovative individuals. And I really believe that if we do a good job of those 4 things, that the testing piece is going to come along. We're not going to have to worry about our kids doing well on tests if they really are strong in all of the 21st century skills. Now, one of the other 21st century skills that we've talked very little about that you're going to hear more about in the future is facility with technology. It's hard to talk about being successful in the 21st century without having some kind of facility with technology. We haven't talked about it a lot because of budget constraints, we haven't been able to provide our kids with a lot of technology. But the budget is easing up a little bit. We're very thankful to our governor for what he did with his local control funding formula budget, where he's putting more money into schools. We're thankful to the citizens of California who approved Proposition 30, which prevented what could potentially have been some very devastating cuts to public education if that had happened. And with the improving economy, we're starting to see more resources coming towards the schools. I think President Cooper is going to talk about budget, so I won't go into detail because I believe she's going to talk about that, but things are a little bit better. And so as we continue to improve, you're going to see more and more technology in our schools because our kids need to be familiar and comfortable with technology as part of their 21st century learning. And finally, another thing you're going to start hearing about is making our kids understand their place in the world. You can call it global awareness, global citizenship, whatever you like, but it's an understanding of who they are and our place as residents of Pasadena, California, the United States, and citizens of global citizens, and what that means as we interact with an increasingly small world economy and world culture because of the easy access to information and news around the world, and the continuous intertwining of economies and cultures around the world. So we have not been placed much emphasis on that, but you will be hearing more about that in the next couple of years as we talk about what that means to our kids to be part of a global economy. So that's kind of the big picture of where we're going as a district, and all of the individual programs that we have are one piece of the puzzle that fits together in what we're calling a 21st century learning environment in the PUSD. We have a long way to go to accomplish our vision for what we'd like to see in all of our schools, but we definitely have set our foot to a road in changing the paradigm and changing the conversation about public education in Pasadena Unified School District. We want all of the citizens of our community to look at us as a good alternative for their kids. Whether they put their kids in public school or not, we want to give them a good public school option for their children if they should choose to do that. And we want to also, even more importantly, do the very best for the kids who are already sitting in the seats in our public schools and for the parents who have already chosen a public education for their schools. Now, I'll make one final comment. I was talking with President Cooper about this on the phone this afternoon. There's a lot of pressure being placed on public education around the United States and a lot of chipping away at the foundation of public education. I personally believe that our long tradition of public education in this country is one of the most important foundations of our democracy. I don't think we would be the United States of America that we are today without a long history of free public education for every child. There is no other place in the world that attempts to do that. And we sometimes beat ourselves up because we would like to see better results, and we would like to see better results. We want to do better for our kids. But there is no other country that attempts to educate every child and hold themselves accountable for doing so. And it's a difficult task, but we believe we're up to that task. I appreciate our school board and the incredible amount of time and dedication it requires to be a member of a school board. I don't think you guys know just how much commitment it requires to be on a school board. And I'm very appreciative of our board and what they do for kids in this district every day. So with that, I'll introduce our board president, Ms. Renatta Cooper. She's going to deliver the primary address tonight, the State of the Schools address. Ms. Cooper, I believe this is your third term on the board, is that correct? So she's beginning her well, it's been a long time. She's given a lot of her life to this district, and we really appreciate her leadership. And so welcome, President Renatta Cooper.
It only feels like 3. I don't know how Elby did it, Dolores. I would say that I have a granddaughter who's 16 months old, Liza, who's bilingual. Actually, her mom says trilingual, English, Spanish, and baby. And it was kind of bittersweet because as she gets a sense of who I am, she smiles, she gives me a hug and a kiss, and then she waves bye-bye, because I'm always going to a meeting, which makes me a little sad that she knows I'm always going someplace. But anyway, that's the deal. Thank you, Superintendent Gundry, for that warm welcome. It's so wonderful to see all of you here. I got some real history with some of you folks in this room. Could you ever have believed this, Carol? I think I probably go back further with you than anybody who's present today. It's kind of amazing. Thank you, Pasadena Educational Foundation and the PUSD College and Career Pathways for sponsoring this lovely reception outside. Thank you, Jackson, for your wonderful hospitality. Thank you, Measure TT, which means all of you, for this beautiful room. This is my third State of the Schools address, even though I said last year I wasn't going to do it again, so I don't know how that happened, but yeah, here I am again. But let me start with a roll call. First of all, let me ask, if you are an alumni of PUSD, would you please stand? All right. Okay, so if you went to Blair, raise your hand. You're still supposed to be, oh, look at all the Blair people. Okay, Trudell, stand up and look at your folks. This is our principal of Blair, Trudell Skinner. If you went to Marshall, are there any Marshall alums in the place? Dr. Anderson, but Dr. Anderson is here. Represent Dr. Anderson. If you went to John Muir, would you please stand? And Mr. Sipple, are you here? Yeah, he's here. This is your principal. And if you were fortunate enough to go to PHS, would you please stand? Mr. Barraza? Okay. You know I had to say that. And with all of our district staff, principal staff, everyone who works for PUSD who's here, would you please stand and wave and smile, look friendly and hospitable. See, don't you want to entrust your children to these people? And let me just have our board members represent now, because Tom had to leave. Tom Selinsky is I was trying to get before he left. So I'll get the rest of you during the speech when I had the text. I was trying to get Tom before he ran out. But okay, I didn't move fast enough. Okay, over the last year, we as a district have faced, it seems recapped to say we face unprecedented challenges, because they're always unprecedented. But we had a budget situation where we had to place solvency above all else. Our fourth year of multi-million-dollar cuts, making a total of $23 million in total over the past few years. Where the threat of a layoff continued to be the unfortunate reality in the lives of too many of our staff. And I really, really hate that. We all really, really hate that. Nobody likes to send out those pink slips, those notices. And it's just an unfortunate reality of public education in the state of California that we were forced to do that. And I'm really hoping we don't have to do it again this year. We have had to navigate the waters of a rapidly changing construction market, where we have had to adjust and reevaluate projects under Measure TT so the district can remain a responsible steward of taxpayer monies. And we have had the beginnings of the transition to Common Core, and you're going to hear that a lot this evening, because that's really going to change public education in this country. Yet we have persevered despite these challenges, and there have been many high points. Let me begin with the budget. While we are far from being out of the woods in terms of budget peril, the consensus is that it is a much smoother sailing ahead. I appreciate Governor Brown and the state legislature for implementing the local control funding formula, or LCFF, you've heard people talk about. A new way of allocating funds that finally recognizes that the children of districts across California have dramatically different needs. You know, one of the things the governor said that I agree with was, well, he says a lot of things I agree with. I don't want to say like this one thing. But the definition of equity has to be realistic. And equity, when there is inequality, is not equity. It just maintains the status quo. So the definition of equity has become more realistic, changing from an assumption of equal for all, that is equity and based on the educational challenges that are confronted by each district. And for Pasadena, I believe this brings about a kind of historical validation. Because we all know, particularly those of you who've been in this community for a while, that there's a reason why Altadena and Pasadena face educational challenges that are not faced by neighboring communities. And now it's like the state is validating those choices that we made as a community years ago, before I moved to Pasadena, and is giving us some resources to work with the fact that certain students have more educational challenges than others, and there's greater needs in some classrooms than others, and it frankly costs more to educate some students. So now we're getting some support with that, and that's a wonderful thing, and it's a useful thing. But yet it's not just money that's being thrown at us. We have to have a very clear educational plan, and we are going to be held accountable for every dime. So we hope to do a good job with that, and I think we have many wonderful things in store for these students. In PUSD, this means we can concentrate our efforts to help the students who need it the most. We will now have additional resources to apply to this important task, and the knowledge that we will be held accountable for our success. Even on our most difficult budget days, we as a school board and as a school district held firm in our beliefs that innovation and investment in our students is necessary for their and for our success. In a very difficult year, we created the Washington See, I got Marshall on the brain, Dr. Anderson. The Washington STEAM Magnet Academy, a one-of-a-kind middle school partnering with esteemed institutions such as UCLA Center X, JPL, Caltech, KidSpace, and the Arts Center, College of Design, to provide a world-class science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and education in the heart of Northwest Pasadena. It's fabulous, and you should go and look at it. It really is fabulous. We also doubled down our support in the importance of dual language immersion education with a second Spanish dual language program in PUSD here at Jackson, while also supporting the needs of our other dual language programs at San Rafael Elementary School and Field Elementary School. And speaking of Spanish dual language immersion at Jackson, will Principal Rita Esposito please come forward? Okay, these are some bilingual books for your kindergarten. Oh, you can plant it and then let me know when it starts to sprout and stuff, and I'll come up and check on it. But anyway, those are for you. Thank you very much. We also resisted defunding our other signature programs in the district, such as the International Baccalaureate programs at Willard and Blair, and our Pathways programs at Blair, Muir, and PHS. As we turn the corner, the goal is now to invest in teaching new technology-based pedagogy. If you are interested in learning more of this, let me recommend an article, No Child Left Untableted, by Carlo Rotella, which is from the New York Times Magazine on Sunday, September 15th. It's very interesting, and it'll give you a lot of information on how this is being rolled out, and it is a national thing, not just a Pasadena thing. Change is not coming. Change is here. Measure TT. The investment in teaching facilities needs to match the investment. It just all has to kind of come together, and it takes so long. But then when you stand in a magnificent room like this, you see that it is absolutely worth it to actually do the planning, get the construction done, all the time it takes to go through DSA, all the review by Mr. Furman. It all does come together eventually, and you end up with a beautiful space like this, which our children fully deserve. The district continues to see ground broken and buildings open as part of Measure TT. Some of our current projects include, we just broke ground on a middle school at Sierra Madre a couple of weeks ago. We got McKinley Phase 1. If you drive by McKinley, you're going to see all kinds of stuff going on over there. It's a great big hole, but it's going to be marvelous, and it's going to be classrooms, dance studio, a new gym, basketball courts that's done in collaboration with the city. It's going to be wonderful. And we're going to have that at Washington eventually. Madison Healthy Start Center, completed, gorgeous, and now we need to really up our programs there. Cleveland Elementary Additions, completed, gorgeous. Make an appointment and go over there and look at it. It's a wonderful environment, and they have a family center there too. Sierra Madre Elementary School, completed, gorgeous. If you ever get a chance to go over there, do look at it. It's really, there's some good stuff happening. There's some wonderful things happening. And thank you for holding our feet to the fire to make sure that we get it all done. Thank you. You too. Although we have completed a lot, we have only spent approximately 1/3 of the $350 million of the bond initiative, but yet the price of all the construction keeps going up, and the state is not matching us anymore, so it makes it harder to do the things that we initially had planned to do. As I said, as the economy improves, the costs increase. But led by a facility subcommittee and its chair, Tom Solinsky, who has gone to teach a class, we are revisiting the facilities master plan to make sure that the projects on deck are still needed and that they are being done in the fiscally most responsible way. This is somewhat dicey. not popular with parents because they don't like to hear that something that they planned 5 years ago might not happen. But we have to be responsible, and we have to pay attention to what the current needs are, not what the needs were 5 years ago. So it's a lot of the things you do in a school board are not always popular, but this is one of the things that we're having to do. Good intentions, but we got to be responsible with the money. We recognize the voters trusted us when they passed Measure TT in 2008. And we know, and we hope that they know, that we take that responsibility very seriously. Following my presentation, my remarks will be a presentation from John Furman, Chairman of the Measure TT Bond Oversight Committee, a program addition that I suggested because I wanted you to hear what's going on with the money and where we are, and that we're all doing a good job. So thank you for doing that for us tonight, John. Common Core transition. I cannot stress enough how the transition to the Common Core state standards and the focus on project-based learning will impact our schools. Not just in our district, but nationally. It necessitates a pedagogical connection with technology. That means technology has to be really totally connected to how you're teaching, which will be fine for the kids because they're living that way anyway. But it's going to be a challenge for adults who are of a few generations back in terms of our adoption and utilization of technology. Whoops, please come forward. Oh, you're going to sit down, okay. They're coming at me with the technology. You know, I told Chief, I was out of Southwest College the other day and I did something and a sheriff's guy pulled me over and I was like, oh, come on, you're not going to give me a ticket for that. I said, I would have never gotten a ticket for that in Pasadena, and he didn't. I don't know if I would have or not, but I made a compelling argument. It will be a challenge for the adults who were taught to teach in a certain way to make the adjustment that needs to be made to utilize technology in the way that the Common Core dictates. But I think once the transition can be made, it will be an enriching experience for the adults as well as putting us in sync with what the kids are doing. Because if you look at our kids, they're almost always plugged into something, you know, except when they're in school. And so, and it's really difficult for us to say that they shouldn't be doing that if that's the way the world is going. So we have to kind of get in the same place where they are in order to make education meaningful. And that necessitates revising our thinking about things all the time. Common Core changes how children are taught, how information is processed, and how students and teachers are assessed. There's no two ways around that. To have instruction focused on 4 C's of critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration may just appear to be another fad to some of you who've been around for a while, but few of us would deny that the use of technology has informed and influenced all manner of interactions in our daily lives, and it's time for education to make the leap. Just the other night, I was explaining to my soror, Alma Stokes, how to look something up. And she was like, I got to do it. So we and she's asking me, okay? Should have had a 10-year-old there to ask, but I was able to instruct her. Whether you are teaching a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old, implementing the 4 C's into instruction is a strategy that is effective and one that we believe will work given the time and resources to make the switch, which typically we don't have the time and we don't have all the resources, but we're doing the best we can. With the transition to Common Core standards happening all around us, I can safely say that the state of schools in Pasadena Unified School District is hopeful. As many of you know, I am someone who has devoted my career to early childhood education. I am therefore by nature an optimist, a believer in long-term success, a believer in the big picture, and someone who can wait to be proven right. When I think about early childhood development, there are various stages that I know all children go through, and I believe that organizations and institutions go through the same thing. I believe that right now, in terms of adopting Common Core, we are kind of in the sensory motor and pre-operational kind of smushed together. Now, if you have a toddler in your life, or someone who's pre-toddler, an infant or a toddler, you know, in the sensory motor stage, how I can capture this for you best is they put everything in their mouths because that's what they understand. They understand eating. So everything goes through the mouth first, and all the times the important role for the adult in their life is to teach them what goes in the mouth and what doesn't go in the mouth, because that's their initial impulse. And it's a phase of intense experimentation, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing as we move forward. We're going to be experimenting, but we're not going to put everything in our mouths. We are going to, I am pleased that the legislature passed AB 484 that will suspend many parts of the STAR test that was aligned to the old standards, so we can focus on the new generation and what's ahead of us, not what's behind us. And the whole new generation of assessments that is connected with the Common Core. I'm still sorry that we're so crazed on assessments, but I understand that this is something that parents really like. They like the accountability that goes with the assessment, so trying to make that adaptation. It takes time, though, to develop mastery, just like it takes time to learn to walk. And certain parts of the developmental process can't be rushed. And so I hope that as a nation, we will understand that, because that's one of the issues with Common Core. We're moving to implementation so quickly, and assessment being tied to implementation. You got to give us a chance to get a handle on this, because it really is a different way of teaching. A phase of when you look at experimentation and instruction, an example of this is last year our teachers some of our teachers went through the curriculum revision workshop process, developed, revised, and rewrote the district's curriculum. This year it's starting to be put into action. Our students are experimenting with tools we wouldn't have even dreamed of a decade ago. Every PUSD middle school and high school has a 3D printer, thanks to a generous PF donor. Some of you saw what's being built with the 3D printer outside. It's really kind of amazing. These printers are now making their way into some of our elementary schools as well. And an example of their capabilities, and it's only the beginning, is on display outside. It's really going to change things in a lot of positive ways, from being innovative and creative to creating mouthpieces for instruments that we have that we can't get the mouthpieces for anymore. And even some of the prosthetics that are being designed with 3D printers. Our kids aren't doing that, but maybe they will be able to one day. It's going to make such a difference for kids who are born with missing limbs. Jackson in many ways exemplifies a lot of the new teaching and learning, and that's one of the reasons why we're here this evening, to shine a light on Jackson. Let's give our host, teacher, principal, Rita Esposito, and the fabulous students at Jackson another round of applause. If you went on a tour of the school before this event got underway, you've seen many things that are emblematic of the 21st century learning. You would have seen Siri Bothby's science classroom, where every student at this school receives hands-on science instruction, and their computer lab at Well. All right, did you see that? If you didn't, you need to check it out. You may have seen Whitney Reese's creative, engaging, beautifully organized classroom up on the second floor. Whitney was a student of mine at Pacific Oaks College, and I am oh so proud of the work she does and the investment she's made in her community. Thank you, Whitney. You may have found out about the incredible partnerships this school has, such as those with JPL, Reading Partners, Caltech, Honeybee Robotics, the Armory, and Kids Space. You would have heard about the school's dual language immersion program, where the ratio of native and non-native Spanish speakers is 50-50 in their classroom dual language classes, which is perfect. Perfect. That's just what you want, because dual language is not just about being conversational in another language, but it's also being conversational in another culture. And you really need to have both languages equally represented in the classroom for the kids to be able to learn from each other in an optimum way. We are so far behind the rest of the world in terms of being multilingual, and I know probably all of you have traveled. You've probably all been to another country, and you've had a chance to experience that, I hope. Several years ago when I went to Rwanda, I had a lot of interesting experiences. Rwanda is an amazing place, and I saw things that were very elevating, and I saw things that just broke my heart. But one of the things that happened while I was there, I would say my handbag was misappropriated, let's put it that way. And that caused me to spend some time with a gentleman who worked for the hotel, and I actually stayed at the Hotel Rwanda that the movie was based on. That was another trippy thing. And so he was there driving me around to police stations, the embassy. Boy, you should see their police station, primitive. I felt sorry for the guy that took my purse. I saw him in there, and he was like not in a good space. But, oh well. And as he got to know me, and I got to know his family, and it was very interesting for me to be in Rwanda, because like I was a rock star in many respects, because there's not a whole lot of gray hair in Rwanda. Part of that's because of the genocide. Part of it's because Rwandans don't gray. I met his mother, and she was like 70-something, and she had very, very few gray hairs. And it's not because she colored them. And so as he got to know me, and got to see me as more than just an American tourist, and kind of saw me as a thoughtful, reflective person, he started kind of digging me about this, that I said I wasn't bilingual, because he spoke 3 languages. He was taking me around because he spoke, all Rwandans speak Ki-Rwandan, that's their native language. Then in terms of education, traditionally they were educated in French because Rwanda was a colony of France, but he was educated in Uganda, so his father wanted him to speak English. So he speaks Ki-Rwandan and Ugandan, and then he was learning French because he thought he should probably go ahead and learn French. And then there were some other dialects that he was picking up along the way. So he wasn't buying that I didn't speak one language. And he started really kind of, you've got to speak another language. And I said, I don't. He said, no, you've got to speak another language. You are not going to tell me that you've never studied another language. And I said, well, yeah, I studied another language. I studied Spanish and I studied French. And he said, you speak other languages. And I said, I don't speak it that good. He said, but you must speak another language. And I said, well, I took more French than anything else, and I can read French. And then he starts talking to me in French. And I was able to answer him. And then he said, see, don't ever tell anybody that you only speak one language. And I realized that one of the reasons why he was laying that on me was because from his frame of reference, an educated person is multilingual. And so for my insisting that I only spoke one language was saying that I was uneducated, and he knew me, he knew that wasn't acceptable. And I think that that's kind of the reality of the world. Some of you may have read the article that I wrote in the journal a couple of weeks ago about 21st century learning being multilingual. And I made a point of our chief academic officer, Dr. McDonald, about that. And I talked about how his mother was responsible for him being multilingual. And you were going to send it to her. Did she get it? Did she like it? And one of the things I love about Brian, because this is the key of being a mother, those of you who have children, is he told me one time that he did want to stop taking Spanish. But he said, with my mother, it was easier to keep taking Spanish than to argue with her. And I'm like, that's a mother. That's what you call being a mother. Because it's not about what's easy, it's about what's necessary. And she had an amazing vision to insist that you do that. So it's important that our kids be multilingual. It's really important. It's important that we get more children involved in the dual language programs. It's important that we get more African American children taking the dual language programs. I work for the county, and I get a chance to see on a regular basis who gets hired. And so it's not just about traveling. It's about being able to do basic customer service jobs. More and more, you have to be bilingual to even be considered for those kind of positions. So we need to get all of our kids need to learn other languages. When I hear that at our schools where we have offered dual language immersion programs, aside from the balance we strive to maintain, that people just don't want that for their children, I have a hard time understanding that, because that's just not the way the world is. Now, if you can't get in, that's one thing. But if it's being offered and you're choosing not to do it, that I kind of have some questions with. But anyway, that's 21st century is not just technology. It's about being able to communicate in different languages. And so I hope that and I'm glad we're doing that in the district. And I can remember when I very first ran for school board, some of you were with me then, and I used to say, my dream for this district would be that all the kids would be bilingual when they graduated. And it seems so radical in 2008 to say that, and like kind of we're moving that way. We're making it possible for more kids to do that. So it's fabulous, and we need to take advantage of it. Okay, pathways. Our pathways programs are another example of work we do to prepare our children for college and career. I am constantly asked, when are you going to bring back SHOP? And I'm here to tell you that our pathways is the new SHOP. This is how we do it now. It's not about bringing a car in and taking it apart and putting it back together. It's about robots, it's about computers, it's about technology, it's about that integration. Hopefully you had a chance to sample the work of our Pathways program, which is the Culinary Academy out at Culinary Arts Academy from Blair High School. We are preparing our students for college and career, as well as preparing the workforce in our region. PUSD students are residents of Pasadena, Altadena, and Sierra Madre. Many of them stay in the area after they graduate. I had the experience this year of I was having some lab work done, and I was one of the young enough guy that was drawing my blood. I asked him where he went to high school. He told me he went to Blair, as he's preparing to stick me with a needle. And I said, did you do the medical thing there? He said, yeah. And he had 2 jobs. He was working where he was, which is here in Pasadena. He was also working at Cedars. And I said, why you have, I said, 2 jobs? And then I said, oh, what kind of car did you buy? And he told me, and he was getting ready to bring it down to 1 car. But, you know, I sat there, and it was really kind of painless getting my blood drawn, because I'm looking at this as one of our kids, and he's talking about Batya, and he's talking about Meg, because she was his principal at Wilson, and he was one of our kids, and here he was draining me. In this vein, no pun intended, we are working with the City of Pasadena on the city's school community work plan, all benefiting all the students of the school district. Although developed in conjunction with the City of Pasadena, it's not just about residents and the schools in the City of Pasadena. Many Pasadena residents attended Jackson here in Altadena, like many Altadena residents attended John Muir High School just down the street, but they also go to Blair, and sometimes they go to PHS. Kids don't see the borders. Adults fixate on borders. We welcome the input of our residents of Altadena, Sierra Madre, and Pasadena, and the planning and implementation continues. The Innovative Work Plan has a series of goals ranging from early childhood education and developmental needs of our youngest children in our community, and preparing those children to succeed academically. And we hope that the work plan will further bind this community with our schools and to help spread the word about some of the amazing things that are happening in our classroom. This is the first State of the Schools address for our new board members, Tyrone Hampton, Michael Aran, in their capacity as school board members. I see Tyrone. I don't know if Michael is here or not, but Tyrone, you want to stand up, represent? John Muir alum, Cleveland, Washington, and John Muir. This is Tyrone. I think this board is making a real effort to put personal differences and personalities aside to make a difference in the lives of the children, which is what you expect of us. Would all the board members please stand? Okay. So as I said, Mr. Selinsky was here earlier, but he had to leave. But we have Mrs. Kenny and Dr. Pomeroy, and of course me. We are in the middle of a master planning process to determine how to best allocate our facilities, programs, and taxpayer dollars for the benefit of our students. The master planning task force is looking at a myriad of things such as attendance boundaries, the open enrollment process, and how to grow our district. In conclusion, I know you're glad we're here. We are a district with amazing potential. Every year our staff and student accomplishments make me proud. Jennifer Weisbert was named the Los Angeles County Teacher of the Year. Marshall graduate Eleanor Maduka was named 2013 National Merit Scholar. And PHS senior Samuel Mathia was named 2014 National Merit Scholar semifinalist. Hear it for our scholars. Blair 8th grade student Emmanuel Scott placed 3rd in California State Science Fair. U.S. News and World Report awarded silver medals to Marshall Fundamental and Pasadena High School as part of their 2013 Best High School rankings. Let's hear it for our silver medalists. PUSD Community Assistant Tracy Mercurio was named Los Angeles County Classified Employee of the Year. Nicole Neelam from Pasadena High School, with her tall, elegant, beautiful self, was named to the 2013 Tournament of Roses Royal Court. The Washington Post named Marshall Fundamental Secondary School and John Muir High School and Pasadena High School all, to its 2013 list of America's most challenging high schools. Don Benito Fundamental School, Hamilton Elementary School, Sierra Madre Elementary, and Marshall Fundamental were named to the 2012 CBEE Honor Roll. Marshall Girls Soccer won the Southern Section Division 7 title. And 60 graduating PUSD seniors earned their seal of biliteracy on their diploma. It's here for our kids. I could go on, but I think you and I would agree that our students and staff are pretty special. This being the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington and Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, I think it appropriate to end with a reference to the vision Dr. King had for a beloved community. I too have a vision of a beloved community, and I want the residents of Altadena, Pasadena, and Sierra Madre to share that vision and to see the students and the graduates of PUSD as integral to their beloved community. They will be responsible for us one day. I know I am not the only one who has received services and assistance by these young men and women who are graduates of our district. Dr. King's vision of a beloved community was one where a generous spirit and love would transform opponents into friends. It would generate a type of understanding and goodwill that would transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exultant gladness of the new age. And I pray and I hope for that beloved community. Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce a member of my beloved community, Chairperson of the Measure TT Oversight Committee, Mr. John Furman.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, fellow community members. It's an honor and a privilege for me on behalf of my colleagues on the Citizens Oversight Committee to set a precedent and join the State of the Schools ceremonies and be able to address you briefly and update you on Measure TT. The Citizens Oversight Committee has one primary responsibility, and that is to receive and review the independent audits that review the spending of Measure TT funds. The district has, for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2010, 2011, and 2012, received those audits. We have a draft of the audit for the most recent year, 2013. In every one of those audits, the auditors officially stated that our financial statements, quote, present fairly in all material respects the financial positions of the Measure TT General Obligation Bond Building Fund. In layman's terms, that means a clean audit, that every penny of the bond funds could be tracked and accounted for. But in addition to the financial audit, which tracks the money, the auditors also conduct what's called a performance audit. That determines whether the money we spent from the bond fund was used for capital projects that fell within the scope of the project list approved by the voters, and that the district followed all appropriate internal controls and policies. Once again, the district received a clean audit for every one of those 4 years. So on behalf of my colleagues on the Citizens Oversight Committee, I can report to the community that we can account for every penny of the bond funds that we've raised and spent, and that all of our internal controls and policies were followed to ensure that we spent the money only on appropriate capital projects. Incidentally, our Citizens Committee has several vacancies, and we invite any interested parties, any interested member of the community to submit an application. Applications are available on our website, www.measurett.org, and they're due back to the district this Friday afternoon. As a quick recap, President Cooper mentioned many of the projects that are underway. We've spent about $125 million so far. Another $70 million has been committed but not yet spent on projects that have been started. Major projects currently underway include rebuilding Sierra Madre Middle School, including a new gym and classroom wing at McKinley. And by the way, the principal of McKinley was, I heard, talking with John Pappalardo, how pleased he was at how things are going at McKinley now. Significant work at Altadena, Elliott, Hamilton, Willard, Wilson campuses, with work at Field, Jefferson, PHS, and Washington Middle School scheduled to begin later this fiscal year. So once again, on behalf of my colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to present to the community and for the privilege of working on behalf of our citizens. Thank you.
I would say the Common Core standards place more focus on real-world skills, like working with other people, thinking outside the box, and being more creative.
For me, I would describe the Common Core standards as something that is like glue. It helps to connect everything together in the curriculum.
Common Core standards, to me, represent a way for students to demonstrate their understanding of mathematics.
For me, Common Core is more of a benchmark for my students to see where I need to take them.
I would say keeping the focus on exploration rather than a right versus wrong.
The student is the center of learning. They are the ones who create their knowledge.
So the Common Core Initiative is a state-led effort to establish a clear set of standards across different states.
So how do we prepare students for this future? In order to collaborate with one another, in order to be innovative and have critical thinking, they have to have these skills because we don't know what the future will look like, and the Common Core is preparing them for this future, either in the university or in the workplace.
Our initiative to infuse 21st century learning into everything that we do aligns perfectly with the new Common Core effort.
Having students complete a project is way more beneficial for them because that's how the real world works.
So it was a lot richer experience because it's more like real life. This is what you do in the workplace. You work in a group, you have a PowerPoint presentation, you do something else, you share your knowledge, you compromise with people who sometimes are difficult to compromise with. And that's part of life.
Our curriculum revision effort is primarily teacher-led. We brought together some of our very best teachers in the district, K through 12, and they went through the whole process of unpacking the Common Core standards.
And within this curriculum are embedded all of the things that we expect to see in our classrooms as we move towards Common Core implementation and the implementation of 21st century learning.
The teacher has to be a curriculum expert. If you don't know your content and if you don't know your standards, you can't design those pathways because you don't know where the boundaries are, where to set the parameters. But if you know your content and you know your standards, then you know where to set those boundaries so that the children have choice within boundaries. And that's where creativity really lies. Creativity is not just do anything you want. It's creativity within parameters. And that's what people in real life in their professions have.
For my students, it's been a different experience also because I no longer let them get away with simply saying, this was my answer. Now it's, how do you know that your answer is correct? Is that the only answer? How did you get there? Was there a different way to get there? And so it's a little frustrating for them because they just want to know, did I get it right? Just tell me, did I get it right?
I've heard from a lot of people in the industry, in certain industries, we can't find anybody who's a problem solver. I don't know why. And we don't know how to train them to be problem solvers. It's a way you think. Well, we better do it in education because that is our job, is to train them to become problem solvers. I always tell my students, you're not here to learn what to think, you're here to learn how to think.
Why aren't students using the skills that they've learned in English class in their science class? Why aren't they using skills that they've learned in their English class, in their history class, or even their math class, right? Presenting, public speaking, these are skills that we learn in English, but at the same time, if you're giving a presentation in science or in a Spanish class, you want to make sure you have those same skills.
There's more of a merging of the curriculum and a deliberate attempt to connect the curriculum to something in the real world that's going to engage kids more in the learning process than they've done in the past.
So if we do all of that well, then we will help students be better able to master these new, more rigorous standards.
Always keep the end in mind. And so what is the ultimate goal? When students become adults, what do we want them to be able to do? What's the focus? So think outside the classroom, almost. Don't prepare students for that next test. Prepare them for the next 4 years.
Okay, I think that's working. All right, this is our final segment tonight. Thank you, those of you who stuck it out. It's gone a little longer than we planned. I would like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Brian McDonald. When I first came here to PUSD, I needed to have somebody who was going to stand right next to me, and somebody who I knew I could trust, and somebody who I knew shared my vision for what education should be. So I went to somebody who I've known since 1994. Brian and I were teachers at the same school in Texas almost 20 years ago. And our path led us here to the same place in California. So I'd like to introduce my close colleague and collaborator, our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Brian McDonald. He's going to talk about Common Core.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Gundry, President Cooper, Board. Thank you all for being here. My presentation will be very brief. So let me start out by pointing you to some statistics on college readiness. So roughly about 75% of our students who graduate from high school every year in this country go on to post-secondary education within 2 years. Of those 75%, approximately 60% of those students enroll in remedial courses in reading, writing, or mathematics. Now this is very troubling. And there are many reasons for that. One reason is that in many regards, our high school curriculum is not considered to be rigorous enough. Another reason could be the sequence of courses that students take. As an example, and I think California got it right when they encouraged students to take algebra in the 8th grade. So as an example, if students take Algebra 1 in the 9th grade, geometry in the 10th grade, and possibly Algebra 2 in the 11th grade, that's not really considered enough to get kids to be successful in college. The recommendation is that they take one more rigorous course beyond Algebra 2. So for example, trigonometry or calculus. Now, the Common Core effort was born out of a desire by states to prepare more students for college. And so the standards are aligned to the College and Career Ready Anchor Standards. Very rigorous set of standards. And they focus on literacy across not just mathematics and English, but science, social studies, and the technical subjects as well. And of course, there's a greater emphasis on relevant education, how what students learn is relevant to their lives. There are some important instructional shifts that we have to be aware of. In mathematics, there's more focus. So what that means is that every single year, teachers race to cover all of the standards in any given curriculum, and so students don't really learn those concepts well. So, there's also more coherence in these standards, in that students take fewer standards every year, or they learn fewer standards every year, and they build on those through the successive years. Now, another important instructional shift is the use of informational text in instruction. So teachers starting in kinder through 3rd grade will have to begin to expose students to informational text as opposed to literary text. And so by the time they get to 4th grade, the balance there has to be 50-50. And when they get to the 12th grade, the focus will be more on informational text. Now, before I move on, why is informational text so important? This is how students build background knowledge. Superintendent talked earlier about global awareness. This is how students understand the world around them. Many students don't get to go out in the neighborhoods that they live in. Okay? Some students, by virtue of the fact that they're born into privilege, they travel the world, they see different things, and some of our students are just not exposed to that. So they don't have the necessary background knowledge to really engage with some of the things that they're reading. And so this is an important shift that will benefit all of our children. Now, as a former math teacher, when I started teaching, it was very simple. I went through the Madeline Hunter lesson cycle, introduced my concept, right? Did independent practice, had the kids to work on worksheets, build their skills, give a quiz, then give a test, and then move on to the next topic, right? I quickly realized that that was the wrong way to go, okay? And now we're making that important shift. The how of mathematics. These standards call for more of a focus on computational and procedural skills. That's always been the way that we've done it in math. But now the focus will be more on the why, the conceptual understanding. Why do we even learn this? And then the next shift is on problem solving. When students learn given concepts in math, how will they use that knowledge to solve problems that are unfamiliar to them? That's an important shift. Teaching kids how to think. Now, I spoke earlier about the curriculum that we normally have in this country, a mile wide and an inch deep. And this is just an example of that. If you look, for example, at first grade, look at all of the concepts that students have to cover and teachers have to cover in any given year. By the time they get to 6th and 7th, look at all of the concepts. Okay? Well, the Common Core is going to change that. And on the next slide, top performing countries in the area of mathematics, that's how they do it. They start out, for example, in the first grade with 3 concepts, and they build on that every year. So there's greater articulation as students matriculate through the years. No more bubble in. When many of us were in school, this was not a concept that we knew anything about, right? We were asked to work on our problems. We were asked to explain our answers. As a matter of fact, teachers graded us on the process, right? Now, well, prior to the Common Core, it was easy to teach kids, okay, students, you have 4 possible answers. What 2 answers are more than likely not the correct answers? Eliminate those. Now you have a 50-50 chance of getting the correct answer because you're down to 2 choices, right? And so a kid could go through a test and do well and not know anything. Well, that has changed. Look at the kind of question now that students are being asked to grapple with. And these tests, these assessments are being developed through a consortium called Smarter Balance. Superintendent likes to say that assessment drives instruction, and he's absolutely right about that. When we had standardized tests that were not as rigorous, guess what? Teachers taught to that test, okay? Even our Casey test is normed to, I think, 7th and 8th grade standards. Right. Now here, this is what's called a constructed response. And this student has to clearly explain not only whether or not this answer is correct, but the reason why this answer is correct or not correct. Now in this case, the answer is what? Remember your math? Pardon me? Don't be afraid. Is Q 2/4? All right, I'm going to move on. The concept is that you have a whole, and the students have to be able to understand the parts of a whole. Can we go back? Now look at the whole. What's the whole? Number 1, right? Okay, well, what are the parts of the whole? Think about it. You see it? You see it? All right, I'll let you ponder that for a little bit, okay? Okay, let's move on. Now, this is what's called a performance task, okay? And if you notice, there are 4 parts to this task, right? I'll let you look at it just for a minute. This is what students are going to have to be able to do on the new generation of assessments. This is demanding so much more of them. And guess what? Superintendent is absolutely right. Now teachers are going to really have to step up their game if students are if they're to get students prepared for these kinds of assessments. Okay? Let's move on. Now, a lot has been said about the 21st century learning. Superintendent and board president did an excellent job of talking about the infusion of 21st century skills into everything that we do. That's undergirded by, of course, the Common Core standards, the assessments, the curriculum that we've written, and the new way of teaching in our classrooms. Of course, we just had our Common Core spending plan approved by the board. President talked about that, $3.4 million, $3.6 million. And that will allow us to provide the kind of professional development that we need to build the capacity of our staff. Of course, the learning environments, 21st century learning environments. So we started this transition to the Common Core in 2010. And this consisted primarily of just building awareness around what this Common Core initiative was all about. And now we have rolled out our Common Core units K-5 in English Language Arts and Mathematics. We've rolled out our English Language Arts curriculum at the secondary level, as well as 8th grade mathematics. And so we're moving full steam ahead. As I talk to people from surrounding districts, I realize just how good a job we've done in terms of this transition to the Common Core. And quite frankly, and I must give some credit to Tim Sipple, the principal over at Muir. He was a part of the team and helped us to get this effort started. And for Tim. And again, this was a teacher-led effort with the support of only 4 instructional coaches. And thanks to this new spending plan, we are going to add 3 additional coaches to assist us in this transition to the Common Core. I'm going to skip this. Project-based learning is our primary instructional vehicle to implement the Common Core. And I won't go through all of this, but it really is focused on, it's inquiry-based, right? It infuses 21st century skills. And the teacher usually will start with significant content from the Common Core, get buy-in from the students, then develop a driving question. Students then formulate their own questions, and then as a group, using their collaboration skills, develop a project that they then present to a public audience. So what can you do? Well, get involved with the school district, with the schools. Talk to teachers, find out what they're doing in the classroom. Work with your child at home on a daily basis. Let them read the newspaper. That's one thing that my dad stressed. You've got to read the newspaper every single day. Have discussions with them at the dinner table about their worldview. What's going on in the world? How can we make a difference? Those are the kinds of conversations that we have to have with our children, because this is what is expected of them in this 21st century. For more information, please visit our website. It's very easy to find information on the Common Core. It's www.pusd.us. On the left side of the page, click on the tab that says District Initiative. and then click on the link that says Common Core. There's plenty of information there. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm just an email or a phone call away, mcdonald.brian, B-R-I-A-N, @pusd.us. So it's mcdonald.brian, B-R-I-A-N, @pusd.us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for coming tonight, and for those of you who stayed right to the bitter end, we really appreciate it. I hope this was informative. And as Brian said, if you have any questions or would like to know more about anything going on in the district, please contact us at our website, email, telephone, and we'll be happy to give you more information if you want to learn about anything that you've heard here tonight. And thank you, President Cooper, for being our keynote speaker tonight. Drive safe on the way home.